firm like ours? Yes, very excited.
At EY Parthenon, we design and deliver transactions that work in practice, not just on paper. By advising a consumer products giant on a separation into two thriving companies ready for the future. By helping a wealth management firm with a merger integration to become the largest asset manager in the world. And by managing the merger and integration of two energy companies to fuel a reliable and affordable delivery model. Turn your vision into value with EY Parthenon.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, Jess from Planetary Design will pour 60 cups of coffee for 60 adventurers.
Shoot, lost count.
Shop small business on Amazon. To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, John from Bluecorn Beeswax will light 60 candles for Marv and Ethel's 60th wedding anniversary.
Marv? Ethel?
Shop small business on Amazon.
It was the stock market that started history's greatest wave of wealth creation. From factory workers in Detroit to farmers in Omaha, anyone could own a piece of the great American companies. But today, our most innovative companies are staying private longer, which means everyday Americans are missing out. Until now. Introducing VCX, the public ticker for private tech.
I've maintained my openness to continue dialogue through that deadline, but they've seemed to have launched sort of a PR campaign that was planned well before these negotiations sort of restarted on Tuesday. So I don't know. So their behavior is frankly unpredictable. I'm not sure what to expect.
That was the U.S. Undersecretary of Defense, Emil Michael, weighing in on the tension between the government and Anthropic right now. And this, unfortunately, has become very, very public.
Which is so interesting. This is public. This is out in the discourse about what they actually are fighting over in terms of rules of the road when using AI. He said it was surprising that Anthropic cut off negotiations, I guess, statement last night. But at the same time, he did say to Dario, we will be willing to have these conversations today. So, I don't know, potentially they get to some sort of agreement by 5:01.
Look, this disagreement highlights how transformative AI is going to be and how some of the tech executives are holding strings that are making some people at the government uncomfortable. How that conversation evolves is going to be of the utmost importance, and I think a lot of people are watching.
Unclear if we pass this deadline, what happens? There is a deadline. Here's the trading diary. Let's talk about that deadline. 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time, the deadline for Anthropic to make a deal with the Pentagon. Into next week, Monday, ISM manufacturing data. Tuesday, results from Target. Wednesday, the Fed's beige book and earnings from Broadcom. Thursday, another round of claims plus results from Costco. Then the big one, the payrolls report just around the corner. Now, typically I'd tease Monday and say coming up on Monday. But things are changing here at Bloomberg TV. Coming up tomorrow, the premiere of Bloomberg The Weekend, hosted by Bloomberg's David Gura, Christina Ruffini, and Lisa Matteo. This weekend, David Gura, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well. I blame you for this.
Why is this my fault?
The real surveillance heads, the OG surveillors, will remember every Friday used to tweet weekend.
That is
simply.
true.
And I think our bosses took that as a call to action, and now they've launched this show.
That is true.
We will be live every Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 10, and obviously a lot is happening over the course of the weekend. Major events, small ones too. We're going to be covering those live on air on TV and radio streaming as well. But this also just gives us an opportunity to have some broader, deeper conversations about the news in the past week and what's coming up as well. So I'm embracing it.
We've got to take a breath.
Yes, exhale as well.
This has been breathless over the past 2 months, and we've said this feels like the longest quarter in financial history, and there's still one more month to go. What kind of things are you and the team going to focus on, given the kind of things we've seen with Block, with AI, the tension with Anthropic, the conversation we had with the government just moments ago?
Yeah, I was thinking how often we get letters, emails, notes from chief economists, kind of not on the data release of the week or what's happening in the markets, but stepping back more broadly to have conversations about productivity and AI. We're going to feature a lot of those longer form conversations. We're going to focus more on politics as well. Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, is going to join us on the show tomorrow on the heels of that Democratic retreat up the Potomac River outside of D.C. So we're going to be keenly focused on markets and the economy over the course of the week. And tomorrow, Berkshire reports, which I was not expecting, but there is a company that reports on a Saturday.
That's exciting.
Greg Abel is going to give us his first annual letter tomorrow. We'll be covering that live at 8 o'clock in the morning and then focusing on politics as well.
Looking forward to it. David,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Great to have you back on the TV over the weekend
Glad
too.
to be here.
Are the donuts going to be in the middle?
We'll see.
We're going to make
Tune
that
in,
happen.
everyone, please.
Okay,
There'll be
make that
gluten.
happen. 7 a.m. Did you negotiate that?
Well, it's very early, Joe. But not for you. But,
No, that's nothing. Should we take 7 a.m.?
That would be amazing.
You'd like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
7 a.m.?
Be life-changing.
Late wake-up call.
I'd love that. 7 a.m. Sounds great.
Trying to
Tune in
something.
tomorrow, of course, 7 a.m. Eastern Time for the premiere of Bloomberg this weekend. Coming up on Monday, Laurie Calvasino of RBC Capital Markets joins us, Kathy Jones of Charles Schwab, Barbara Reinhardt of Voya Investment Management, Darryl Cronk of Wells Fargo, plus a big conversation at 2 p.m. Eastern Time Monday. Catch Lisa's interview with the JP Morgan Chase chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, and I imagine the word cockroaches is going to come up in this a few times.
Yeah, the big question about how much the cockroaches are coming to the surface with respect to private credit concerns and what he sees there. He's been very vocal about that, the idea that, you know, clearly there's some bad actors here. He also has been really vocal on artificial intelligence and what that's doing to the workforce. So those two ideas are actually working in tandem, the disruption that's causing some of these cockroaches to come to the surface, his words, and what that does to
And I
us
wonder
in
if he's going to tell you who he thinks lately is doing some dumb things.
Probably not, but yeah, maybe.
Some dumb things are happening in finance, that's for sure.
Yes.
And some big moves are happening in financial markets. The most interesting time in financial markets for a long, long time. Going into the opening bell, just around the corner, 35 minutes away. Futures at session lows with negative 0.8% on the S&P 500. In the bond market, yields breaking through 4%. 398, we're down 2 basis points, even with a hot PPI print just 25 minutes ago.
This, to me, is a huge moment. The idea that you could get data that goes against the move that you're seeing in the bond market. The bond market says to it, I don't think so, and keeps going. That tells you something.
From New York City, you don't get to rest. We're even here on the weekend. From New York City this morning, good morning. Thank you for choosing Bloomberg TV. This was Bloomberg Surveillance.
World's most powerful investors don't ring a bell. They quietly reshape entire industries. This is the money shaping the world. The Dealmaker playbook, where power and billions of dollars change hands every day. From private equity and credit to venture capital and M&A, we bring you the inside scoop on the biggest deals and debates, plus exclusive conversations with finance's ultimate insiders. I'm Danny Berger, and this is Bloomberg Deals. Every week, only on Bloomberg Television.
Tariffs, I think, are probably the first time in my career I've had to deal with like a fundamental change in government policy in terms of how we think about how markets work.
The challenge, especially within my supply chain, is now how do you have enough productivity initiatives to offset the increased cost of all the product?
Can you just move your supply chain out of China and into the U.S. or out of Mexico and up to Canada? Is it that easy?
It's not that easy, but we do have flexibility. And we had been, prior to tariffs, prior to any of this, we had been on a journey to diversify our footprint out of China. So probably 2-ish years ago, roughly 65% of our toy and game volume was coming from China. Today, as we entered into 2025, that was around 50%. All we've done is really accelerate the path to get down to roughly, call it 30% by the time we enter into 2027. For us, I mean, if tariffs stay, if tariffs go, it's never good to have so much of your manufacturing base centered on one geography. We think the diversification is good, but it does take a bit of time to get vendors and suppliers up to speed. Quality is a big deal, especially when you're dealing with toys and kids. It's not an instantaneous thing, but it's not also a 5-year, have to build a new plant from scratch.
This is a 15, 16 grams tuna. Then sushi rice is still a little bit warm. So take one, like a very, don't make it too tight. So from now, and very light, like a ball. Put wasabi in the middle. Then my process 1 to 6. 1. This is putting the between the lights air. Then make the 4 fingers curl. Make sushi shape. Then touch this. 2. Then turn. Now these 2 fingers, top to the bottom, make the sushi shape the more beautiful. 3. Then, I'm not, looks like pushing, not pushing. 3, 4, turn, same way, 5, and 6. So this is the 1 to 6.
Bringing you up-to-the-minute global news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Hazlida Amin in Davos, Switzerland, and this is Bloomberg.
10-year yield below 4%. Futures are down. 30 minutes till the start of trading. I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Danny Berger. Bloomberg Open Interest starts right now.
OpenAI shatters fundraising records. The ChatGPT maker closed a $110 billion round backed by Amazon, SoftBank, and NVIDIA.
The AI feud between Anthropic and the Pentagon escalates while Jack Dorsey swings the axe at Block.
And MFS's blow-up ripples through the financial sector as more signs of a strain emerge in the credit markets.
Wow, there's a lot today. A lot of stress. Like, it's all the anxious things coming to a head between credit and AI. I have one of the AI stories that we've been following that we're going to talk to Caroline Hyde in just a moment. Shares of Block up 15.8% in the pre-market. They're cutting 4,000 jobs. Jack Dorsey says it's because AI, that it can replace those workers. Now, to be clear, there are a lot of people, analysts included, questioning whether that's actually the case or whether this was a bloated company and they're now using AI as a convenient excuse. But whatever it is, maybe it's a model to follow. Shares are up a lot.
Right. It could be viewed as an up arrow story, right? Even though thousands of people will lose jobs. OpenAI announced, this is another up arrow story, I guess, a strategic partnership with Amazon to bring more models to AWS customers to use more Trainium chips. Amazon will invest $50 billion in OpenAI, which is now valued at $730 billion. Still seems pretty low. Amazon right now down about 0.25% in the pre-market.
Well, yeah, because if what OpenAI is doing is going to take every single job, is going to ruin software companies, maybe it should be valued at even more. Joining us now is Caroline Hyde, co-host of Bloomberg Tech. I mean, I joke, Caroline, but, it is a pretty punchy number, this new valuation round for them.
It's a punchy number. It's a big number coming from Amazon, who already has a very strong relationship with Anthropic. It's a punchy number coming from NVIDIA, $30 billion from there. SoftBank, Masayoshi Son, once again doubling down on his commitment to OpenAI. And this is at a time where, if you think about it, some of the PR mood music has shifted away from OpenAI and into Anthropic in terms of leading the charge on the plugins and who's really got the best coding tools. But Sam Altman has been focused time and time again on the need for compute. That's what holds back their revenue. That's what holds back the growth, is ultimately the power, the necessity for chips in the data centers. And with Amazon's help, look, that's going to be significant. Amazon had already committed to raising their capital expenditure significantly in the previous earnings. And we are seeing an interview that's being done at the moment with Jassy and Sam Altman, calling about the long runway that Sam Altman now sees from this current fundraise that he provides, and more broadly thinking about going public at a time that is going to be right. But Andrew Jassy really talking about, look, they're still committed to Anthropic, but this is going to be a good news story for OpenAI and their integration.
The Block story I find absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And even though those shares are up, 16% in the pre-market.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty terrifying from the perspective of the Citrini research note, right? True. It's starting to happen.
It is. And look, Jack Dorsey is a contrarian. Look, he's a guy who makes big, bold bets. Look at the way he brought Bitcoin onto the balance sheet, the way he committed to that particular area of crypto rather than perhaps what we've been seeing in terms of stable coins like other payment companies. But the fact that he is saying, I am letting go of these amount of people in one fell swoop. I don't want it to be death by 1,000 cuts. I want it cleanly done, but I want it done in a human way. People have already been calling out the way in which he has been in touch and thought about this going to be a much more human, personal story. It's going to be painful. He has tried to talk about whether this is AI washing. Look, when I put the post on LinkedIn, for every one person who said, here it comes, it's happening, the tidal wave of layoffs is here, 3 people were like, it's just because they were bloated, they'd overhired during COVID. He answered that on X, of course, the Twitter he founded once upon a time, and he was talking about how, look, in 2024 they rectified in many ways for that overhiring. He said, look, at the time he built sort of 2 different companies, Cashapp on one side, Square on another. It is a difficultly organized business. He wants to streamline that. But then you also have to think back to what's happened with Klarna, another payments company that said, look, we can do all our customer services with artificial intelligence. And then they had to rehire back a lot of people that they laid off. So there is some cynicism. There's also some very authoritative people out there who I've spoken to who are tracking the AI enablement within these payment companies, saying it's not ready yet. It's going to be a very difficult, sort of longer period of time. But maybe this is if it works, it will be something that other CEOs take into account.
I was going to say, whether or not it's AI washing, you look at the reaction of block shares, and maybe this becomes the playbook because you get rewarded. But I was talking to Matt about this before the show, that Elon Musk said, according to his accounting, he fired 6,000 people at Twitter. Yeah. And he said it was because it was bloated and he wanted to take it over. And we didn't bat an eye and say this is some systemic issue because he couldn't use the excuse of AI then. I mean, this has happened in tech before, but it's just because they maybe have something to blame it on that it all of a sudden feels different and systemic.
And look how many job losses we had in January alone. Amazon have sort of PR'd it differently. We heard from Andy Jassy in an investor letter a year ago warning that there will be more jobs done by AI. There will be fewer, particularly in his corporate department. They've let off 30,000 people in recent months. But they've been saying, look, this is also to just rebalance. But really, he could have AI washed a lot more. Think about the huge gargantuan layoffs that we've seen across many a business to start this year. Some have tried to pepper in artificial intelligence. Some have tried to use automation. You'll go to a consultancy company at the moment. They say a lot of this is just legacy tech updates rather than actually the latest, greatest generative AI agent doing your job.
Yeah, and yet Indeed has software job seeking up 11% of job listings out there. So,
and I'll remind you again.
Please.
We heard from Workday that Anthropic and AI still use its software. So if they aren't replacing SaaS subscriptions, why would anyone else have to?
Yeah, again, it's the great uncertainty, and we're pricing every outcome right now. Caroline, thank you so much. As always, looking forward to Bloomberg Tech at 11 a.m. New York time. Elsewhere, the other anxiety for your market this morning, the cracks in private credit. An Apollo-run fund cut its dividend and marked down loans as losses pile up. Meanwhile, a private credit fund managed by Future Standard and KKR slashed its payments even deeper, hit by troubled bets. In London, there was another cockroach, if you will. A property lender is collapsing, and big banks like Santander and Barclays could lose millions. Let's get now more with Dana El-Baltaji, Bloomberg's managing editor for credit. Dana, I'm assuming that these BDC markdowns are happening because it's quarterly and they have to mark to market. Are we going to see more pain out there? Is this the tip of the iceberg, or is this no big deal, but everyone's paying more attention to it just because of the scrutiny around private credit?
I really like the way that you described what's happening with Block and AI. There is a great uncertainty here. And the issue is that because you have these marks, every quarter, we have to guess where the next cockroach is. And so every now and then we get a glimpse, we don't like what we see, and the market reacts. It just so happens that it's all happening at a time where software is a real issue. People are wondering what else AI is going to affect. And of course, I mean, a lot of these private credit firms are highly exposed to all of these industries. So absolutely, we don't know exactly where the pain points are, but every time something does happen, people are worried that there are a lot more out there.
And something did happen today. I woke up to see that MFS was a problem on your side of the Atlantic and is causing ripples across global Wall Street. What's the story there?
So the issue here is there is a company called MFS. It was a mortgage servicer, really. But in any case, it got a lot of funding from banks, from private credit firms, and it has gone bust. Now, the issue here is not just the fact that it has gone bust, but the fact is that the assets that are backing those loans seem to have been pledged once, twice, 3 times. This is still playing out in the courts, so we don't know exactly what happened. But the issue here is that asset-backed lending was supposed to be the darling for direct lenders. And now we're seeing these issues with these assets.
All right, Dana, great to get your take on credit. You know the market so well. Dana El-Baltaji there out of Bloomberg News in London. We'll have more on the private credit markets from the Bloomberg Invest Conference. Danny and I will both be there for open interest on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. You'll hear from Apollo's Mark Rowan, Mike Arrighetti of Ares, Don Fitzpatrick of Soros Funds, as well as Bruce Richards from Marathon and many, many more. Let's get, though, to the big M&A story that maybe we finally see an end to. Paramount is poised to buy Warner Brothers after its latest offer went unmatched by Netflix. If it closes, Bloomberg Intelligence says Paramount's EBITDA could quadruple. That's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Bloomberg Intelligence media analyst Geetha Ranganathan joins us now. So, Geetha, I guess this is a relief for the Ellison clan. You know, Paul Sweeney has been saying for months it's a must-have for Paramount, whereas it was a nice to get for Netflix. Why did they give up so easily, Netflix, though? They have so much more money.
They do. They have a lot of financial firepower, but this is exactly what we were constantly saying. I mean, Netflix has always been so disciplined in terms of capital allocation. And this is your classic case, Matt, where losing, the war might actually be winning the battle. I mean, this is a great outcome for Netflix because it doesn't muddy the narrative anymore. You know, the deal was introducing a lot of regulatory risk, a lot of execution, integration risk. All that goes away. Plus, they get $2.8 billion in termination fees as an added bonus. So I think all around, it's a win-win for everybody here.
I mean, but presumably, Geetha, Netflix could have upped their offer with the giant cash pile they have. What would be your understanding in what the line is between offering more and getting this asset, which they talked ad nauseum about, how it was important to them, and they did need this, they needed the IP, versus just saying, well, take that $2.8 billion and walk away?
Yeah, I mean, this was the constant question, Danny. I mean, did they really need this all that badly? They did see an opportunity when, the Warner Brothers Discovery assets were up for sale. Yes, they looked through it. They made the offer. But at the end of the day, I think what happened was, we obviously had that meeting yesterday between Ted Sarandos and the White House government officials. We really don't know how that went. But right after Warner Brothers Discovery deemed that the Paramount Skydance was a superior offer, and you kind of had that White House meeting where they probably got some signals that things weren't really going to go their way. Netflix obviously backed out. I think it's good because, again, it removes a lot of the risk and basically goes back to their story. I mean, their whole MO has been build versus buy. They've managed to do that. They've managed to disrupt an entire media ecosystem. They should be able to absolutely maintain their streaming dominance as they focus on their core drivers. I mean, we have double-digit revenue growth. You have 20% EPS growth through 2030. You have operating margin expansion of something like 300 to 400 basis points. And they're throwing out something like about $10 to $15 billion every year in free cash flow. So all around an organic growth story that is pretty strong, that was probably going to get diluted a little bit with this M&A.
What about Paramount Skydance? I mean, I'm sure that the industry, or possibly the industry, is happy about this because David Ellison and his sister really seem to want to make good movies. And Larry Ellison obviously has a ton of money. He's, I think, 6th on the Bloomberg Rich list with over $200 billion as measured by us. But how much do they have to make now to cover their nut? Because they're taking a lot of debt here.
They're taking a tremendous amount of debt, Matt. I mean, if you look at the pro forma leverage of this company, it's going to be 7 times. Dangerous levels of leverage, we would think. But yeah, I think it is good overall for the industry. I mean, from Paramount's standpoint, really, they really didn't have much of a chance as a standalone entity. I mean, organic growth, it was going to be really, really tough. They're a subscale streamer, very heavy exposure to a declining TV ecosystem. This was absolutely, as you characterized it correctly, this was a must-have for Paramount. And we'll have to see how things work out. I mean, obviously, you still have execution integration risks, but they have pointed to this humongous synergy number of $6 billion. So we'll have to see if they're actually able to deliver on that.
Geetha, thank you so much for the latest update this morning. Geetha Raghunathan of Bloomberg Intelligence. Let's get a quick check on futures this morning. A really bad day for Russell 2000 futures, but a weird dynamic because yields are lower, below 4% for the 10-year yield, but PPI came in hotter. So I guess we're losing jobs and dealing with sticky inflation. So try to put your head around that one. NASDAQ 100 futures down about 1%, S&P down 0.9. Coming up, we talk about the Paramount deal with one of its proxy advisors and much more. As the proxy season heats up, we talk with Bruce Goldfarb. That's coming up next, just after this break.
Good morning. This is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe. I'm Lizzie Burden in London, and these are the stories that set your agenda.
Taking you from the U.S. market's close to the overnight session in Asia, we'll walk you through what you need to know to kickstart Europe's trading day.
All right. Welcome to another Market Stream live opening. Yeah, you know, the news, got some news on NVIDIA. I know the title of the live stream is asking if the AI bubble is popping. The reason I proposed that is because there's a lot of people that are pulling out their funding for ChatGPT and OpenAI. Amazon was going to invest $50 billion. Now they've scaled that back to about $15 billion. And that's reflected in the OpenAI's now $830 billion valuation. And they're now talking about an IPO for OpenAI. Typically people do that to raise money, right? Microsoft was thinking about investing $10 billion. Now, if you look at the information that is provided now, it's framed as low billions. Microsoft has $6 billion in free cash flow. They repurchased some stock and paid down some debt, and they only have $24 billion cash available. After bills, only about $11 billion in spare cash. So it's not like they're going to drop all of that into anything, right? They've got like 20-something billion in taxes, $35 billion in long-term debt that they bought. NVIDIA already said they were pulling back a little bit. NVIDIA's balance sheet has $24 billion in inventories, and they have debt of $32 billion over the next year. That only leaves them about $100 billion in cash at best. CFO commentary says in order to manufacture the next 3 quarters, they need to spend over $92 billion. So do they have the money? Their balance sheet doesn't look like they can afford to invest in OpenAI. Maybe in a couple of quarters. Plus, you know, you've got Claude and Gemini, they're popping. Maybe everybody's wanting to wait to see what happens before they invest too much in OpenAI. I mean, for Christ's sake, NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world, pushing $5 trillion. It looks like Amazon's cash flow has decreased. They had to borrow some short and long-term debt. Let's take a look at Amazon, shall we? Salesforce. Amazon. Yeah, so Amazon is taking on debt because their cash flow is down to $7 billion from $30 billion. Yeah, they might have $100 billion in cash, but they also have $160 billion in bills. So no wonder Amazon's pulling out. And now companies are likely scaling back their investments to preserve the value of their own stocks, right? It seems the investors are wanting to wait for AGI, artificial general intelligence. We are miles away from that. Let's see what CNBC is saying for just a few minutes before the bell.
So every dollar that we're putting to work today is ensuring that we are going to earn dollars over the next 5 years. So we like the return profile on the investment. We talked about this yesterday on earnings that, a stabilized data center is going to throw off a margin in the mid-20s. That is a very, very healthy return for us. It gives us the scale to be able to build and monetize across our platform. I was on with NVIDIA, with Jensen last month, where I talked about the fact that because they are adopting our reference architecture, it's going to give us the ability to generate returns off of other people's GPU.
Okay. Let's go to... yes. Today, Bill Clinton's going to give his deposition. Can't wait for that.
Were that he doesn't think we're anywhere near that. And we're still, let's say, in the third inning of a 9-inning game. So I think that's one of the things that's weighed on the stock going sideways. And then, of course, I think investors really need to understand here, this is a hardware bull market in tech still, and they're the dominant player in the AI ecosystem.
I mean, a lot of people own NVIDIA already, right? They own it through index funds, they own it through ETFs, they own it outright. If they don't own it, is this a good time to buy it? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the valuation coming down for the stock, but of course,
it's not boding well for my calls.
If you hadn't bought it a long time ago, then I just wonder what the upside from here could be.
Do you have anything in on NVIDIA? Drop it in the chat.
There's in these AI tech-led markets, we had that in the 90s. Once in a while, you get lucky and get a pause. And I think that's really what we're seeing, particularly in the hardware stocks. It's NVIDIA, TSM, ASML. And when you get these pauses where the stock goes nowhere for 4 months, a lot of red pre-market. I think you go from what people thought was a bubble in NVIDIA stock to now what I would call a value play. I mean, in the last 4 months, the stock stayed the same, but we just saw from Jensen's report,
crypto's
earnings
flat.
Went through the roof, revenue went through the roof, and what happened is the PE contracted from above 30. Now it's 27 times earnings.
The dollar's coming
growing
down.
at 60% a year. So I think that's one shot here. You got a window of opportunity. If you don't own the stock, this is the time.
The dollar's coming down, which is why you're seeing silver go up. In fact, if you don't know already, when you see gold and silver going up, you're not seeing the value increase. The value is always the same. If you don't know what the difference between price and value is, you should probably learn that. The value of silver stays the same. What you're witnessing is the value of the dollar decrease as gold and silver go up. If you don't know that already, you should probably get with the program. It's a very good indicator of the strength of our dollar. And as you can see, just in the last couple hours, the dollar has come down a fair amount, considering. These are some global yield curves of our treasury bonds. That is the 5-year U.S. government treasury bond. That's coming down. There's a lot of red going on, guys. We have 8 minutes till the market opens. Silver, man. Congratulations if you've got some silver, right? I used to buy and sell silver. I did back in 2013 when it ran up, or whenever it ran up to $50, and that was when everybody was saying it was going to go up to $2,000 an ounce and all that. Yeah, it ran up to like $49 and change, and I had several pounds I had accumulated, and I sold because $50 was such a psychological barrier. I just didn't see it going much further. And wouldn't you know, right after I sold all of my silver, it came back down, and then it hovered in the $30 range for what, a decade? But I still love silver. I still collect it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, shall we? Bitcoin has been doing a little bit better, relatively speaking, right? I don't know about you, but it needs to, I don't know, double. I recently sold my house, okay, a couple months ago. And I dumped the vast majority of the proceeds in my house into Bitcoin. And that was when it was at about 95. So I am upside down like hell. But not a loss until it's realized, right? So that's money I will not touch for a couple of years if I have to. That's why I'm technically homeless right now. I'm staying with a friend of mine, though, and I am living on her good graces, so I'm eternally grateful for that. But anyway, yeah, dollar coming down, silver going up. Let's see what Bloomberg has to say and what they've got going on while we wait for the bell.
Oh, copy now. I can make a comment or try and compare and contrast the regulatory environment under President Trump and President Biden, but I don't know it as well as you do. Is it really as stark as I would have thought?
There's a lot of differences in how all of the participants.
I don't care about cruise lines. Do you? If you do, by all means, mention it in the chat and I'll bring it back up. But I'm going to go to Fox now and see what they're saying. I'm pretty sure they're just talking about the upcoming Clinton deposition.
You mentioned criminal aliens a few times in this week's conference.
Turn your mic up, guy.
When will Floridians get paid back for alligator Alcatraz? It assured us that the federal government would pay for that. But what's the price tag up to now?
Yeah, I don't know the exact price tag that's run. Alligator Alcatraz is operated by the Division of Emergency Management. I have no reason to believe that the federal government is not going to reimburse. I know there's been expansive litigation that's bounced from trial court up to the appellate court. I do believe that the state, will largely be reimbursed for those costs, given that we were delegated by the federal.
We'll come back to that later. Let's go back to, let's see what Yahoo Finance is saying.
Prediction.
You're asking me when are they going to start making money?
Yeah.
What year are we? 2026? I'm going to say 29.
I needed it on the record.
29.
We could keep it moving, Julie.
Let's say 29.
That's fabulous.
What do you think?
I think, I know it's not this year, Julie.
Okay, well, you're really going out on a limb there, buddy.
You asked.
Really going out on a limb. All right, that's us at Reporting Brief. Saz got you next. Hopefully it's not a show about predictions. He'll be right back.
Yeah, they'll be right back. Let's bring Bloomberg back, shall we? Every time they play one of those songs, YouTube wants to charge me a nickel. That one too. I'm not escaping the nickels today, apparently. Perhaps we'll go to CNBC.
एक बेहतर स्वस्थ भारत का हेल्दी भारत मूवमेंट सोच सेहत संकल्प.
Gold. I want to see what gold is doing, huh? Gold and silver both looking great. Gold's ridiculous.
Get a bird's eye view of the world beyond the borders. Foreign Policy Decoded on Global Lens on CNBC TV 18 Prime.
What's with that accent? That seems a little forced. All right, we're 2 minutes away from the market opening. Let's go.
Good morning, folks. I'm Martin Sung. Let's get a look at your headlines at this hour.
U.S. has the godfather of AI and his black leather jacket, Jensen. China has rare earth. It's time to make a deal.
I'm less concerned about building a mythology.
I think at the end of the day, common sense will prevail.
OpenAI valuation, $500 billion US.
$500 billion happens to be how much Elon Musk apparently is worth right now.
Back to
Roughly
Bloomberg.
60-65% of our toy and game volume was coming from China. Today, as we entered into 2025, that was around 50%. All we've done is really accelerate the path to get down to roughly, call it 30% by the time we enter into 2027. For us, I mean, if tariffs stay, if tariffs go, it's never.
Let's see what Yahoo's doing. I just love bouncing around. Actually, I want to go back to CNBC. Too much shit on my screen here.
शेयर खरीद मैंने भी खरीदे तब किसने दी सुनजी कार्तिक ने बोला माय साला वर्क्स एट रोडेक्स तो उसने बोला तो किया इन्वेस्ट
ये है इन्वेस्ट करने का एक तरीका और ये है इन्वेस्ट राइट
सो चेक आउट सोडेक्स शेयर्स योर साला वर्क्स देयर नो सर It's recommended by the research team.
Researched stock picks and a dedicated RM. Invest right. Investment in
$1 trillion industry. We'll show you what's happening in ETFs like no one else. ETF IQ. Only on Bloomberg.
Moments away from the start of trading. This is Bloomberg Open Interest. I'm Matt Miller. Take a look at futures because in a month that's already looking like a loss, they're down 1% on the S&P right now. NASDAQ futures down even more, and the small caps down 1.5%, even as the 10-year yield comes in below 4%. And Dan tells me this because PPI was just too high. You see here, well, that's Jim Neeson. He's the managing director and founding partner at the Connor Group. Great guy to ring the bell today because they're holding an IPO summit, and that's what the NYSE probably, definitely, absolutely wants more of. They're getting one down at the NASDAQ. Generate Biomedicines ringing the opening bell, raising $400 million in an IPO, so that will start trading today. Danny, there's a lot going on in these markets.
Yeah, and a lot going on that we're freaking out about, that we're like, there's, fires to be put out. I mean, whether or not
this story, by the way, that you're about to show us is the perfect end to a week that started with Citrini research, right?
That is actually so well put. Of course, this is the logical conclusion that you get a warning that maybe the white-collar labor market is going to be completely different, and then you have a company saying, yes, that is what's happening, and that's what we're doing. Block cutting 4,000 jobs. Jack Dorsey saying that AI can replace those workers.
We've got a lot of red going on. Anybody has
earlier in the hour, there have been many who have said this was a bloated company and they would have needed to make those layoffs anyway. And maybe AI is a convenient excuse. Whatever it is, shares are higher by 17.3%. So, or now 18%. So maybe this is the model to follow. Your shareholders will reward you if you cut a whole lot of employees and say it's because of AI.
Right. I mean, he also raised his profit forecast at Block. So that doesn't hurt. OpenAI announced a strategic partnership with Amazon to bring more models to AWS customers. Amazon will invest $50 billion in OpenAI, which is now valued at $730. I think in total they got $110 billion of investment, and they're going to buy some Trainium chips, which is the part that I find interesting as well in the battle to see if anybody can catch up with NVIDIA. Let's bring in Anastasia Amoroso, Partners Group Chief Investment Strategist of Private Wealth.
The 1 minute candle.
Partners. Anastasia, great to have you here.
Good morning. Good to see you, Matt.
You know, last time we had you on, we probably asked you if there's a bubble in AI, and that is no longer
I said no.
a discussion, right? Now the concern is AI going to, well, kill us all, right? I mean, Anthropic has said we're not going to let AI control weaponry, and it seems like the Department of Defense wants that.
Yeah, we've seen that movie, haven't we?
What do you think about all of this investment? Are we just going to see it continue to climb higher and higher and higher?
I do. I think the Amazon and OpenAI news is really telling, and that is you really see companies, the Gen AI companies like Anthropic,
I wouldn't
short
silver and all right now. I don't care what these symbols say.
But also in terms of monetization. And for example, if you...
I should point out and make it very clear, as you can see on the dollar, I still have trading signals up. That's just because I have it applied to everything. Not everything on here. You can't trade everything that you're going to see in these charts. So disregard some of these trading signals. There's a lot of red in the market today, guys. A lot of red. A lot of red. That's the S&P. Let's go over to the Russell 1000. A lot of red there. Let's check out the Dow Jones. Utility seems to be doing okay. NASDAQ. That is all U.S. companies. Looks like something out of Interstellar, doesn't it? Yeah, man, there's a lot of red in the major sectors today. It looks like health and technology is doing okay. Retail trade's a mixed bag. Consumer non-durables fairly green. Health technology, consumer services. Gold coming down a tiny bit. Still up, relatively speaking. Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin ran up to 68,000 last night. Then it started coming down about 5 o'clock this morning. I want to point out this right here that you will see on all of my charts. This is not what you typically see on other people's charts. What you typically see is sometimes it's order flow, sometimes it's volume, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. What I have on all of my charts is RSI, Relative Strength Index, which is one of the best indicators, in my opinion, of what a stock or crypto is going to do. The purple line is current. The yellow line is the moving average. Typically, when you see this rise above 60, usually closer to 65, that's when things will start running up. As long as it stays between 60 and 70-ish, that's a good, healthy run. When the RSI starts getting above 70, it's getting overheated. Your RSI is more or less like a throttle. The same can be said when it gets down here, then when it gets low. It starts getting too cold. So when it's down here, you can expect it to then run up like it did. RSI is brilliant. It is a great indicator for many things, crypto in particular. Silver and gold seem to just be dicking around a little bit. Nvidia is not moving very much. It's not moving very much at all. I'm wondering if that's just me. I hope not. I have blown out the internet here where I'm at, where I'm staying. She's been kind enough to let me use her internet for streaming, and she has a cap on her data of about, I think she said 500 gigs per month. I blew it out by about 5 terabytes. Added $100 to her bill, and I didn't make $100 on YouTube or Rumble for that matter, so not exactly a good ROI, right? If you've got any ticker symbols you want me to take a look at, drop them in the chat. Crypto is looking flat. Overall in the last 24 hours, down. Yeah, stocks is a mixed bag. There's a little bit of green going on over here. Walmart, Netflix. They're doing okay. Dell, GE. Verizon. It seems to be a bit of a mixed bag. Alright, Nvidia is moving. Okay. Not very much, though. Do you have any Nvidia? Are you invested in Nvidia? Comment below. Gold. This leap right here today, which really isn't much. What's that? You know, it's not very much, relatively speaking. $50-ish. That's why I always felt silver was a much better investment. Okay, let me look at the moves that it makes from 89 to 93. Okay, that's roughly 3 or 4%. It's not that much, but when you compare it to gold, that is like that move right there is less than 1%, give or take. Yeah, 0.73%, 0.75. Silver, you can just have the potential to make way more money with silver because of the moves that it makes. You spend the same amount of money on gold as you spend on silver, you're going to make more money on silver. It's just how it's been forever. The dollar is crashing, guys. Ouch. That's not good. But that's largely responsible for what you're seeing in gold and silver. Bond yield curves are looking okay. Yeah, the dollar's sucking it. Which could lead to Bitcoin popping up. You see this RSI is getting closer to 60. As soon as it crosses over 60, it's going to take a leap. Now, will it break through that 68,000? Had a little trouble right in here after it stayed pretty flat for a good while yesterday, last night. Didn't like this spot though. But this is good that it came down just this little bit, 2 or 3 grand, 2 grand. Yeah, it's good that it didn't come back down to 63 where it was just a few days ago. This is progress. This is moving up. It needs to go. It needs to move a lot faster, in my opinion. You got any Bitcoin? How much Bitcoin do you have? Let's take a look at some of the other ones, shall we? Let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum. People have been waiting on Ethereum. We've been waiting on that $10,000 Ethereum for too long now. That's for sure. I have a bag of that as well. I've got a bag of Cardano too. Yeah, Ethereum's pretty much doing the same thing as Bitcoin, like it usually does. I do want to take a look at Cardano. I haven't looked at Cardano in a while. What coins do you have? Dude, I remember when Cardano was at $3. Was that 4 or 5 years ago? Oh yeah. Every bull market, every crypto bull market, I put all of my money in crypto. Every dollar I get a hold of, I plant it right in crypto. I am a maxi. I tend to move it in and out during a bear market, which I'm pretty sure we're technically in right now. I hate to admit that, but yeah. Silver will pop back up as soon as that RSI gets off the floor. Guys, we're still at a lot of red. Let's go to Bloomberg and see what they're saying.
Next, this is Bloomberg Open Interest.
Combination of Q1, Q2, Q3, and they expect it for Q.
Let's see what Yahoo's doing.
A trusted advisor, trusted loan officer, a trusted real estate agent that in an ecosystem that you have confidence in with privacy and with trust. And agents are not in the business of brokering information. In the industry of brokering trust.
Lastly, last time I talked to you was during the pandemic. I think I did this interview from a kitchen table. You had the reputation of calling new agents on the phone as soon as they start. Can you still do that, given your company is significantly larger? Are you still doing that?
I call every agent. I call every agent that starts, every principal agent, like team leader, at Compass, and now I'm expanding that starting next month to all the different brands.
You need a Robert agent to do these calls. I mean, come on.
If you'd like me to pull up a particular stock or crypto,
good luck on the
drop it in the chat.
Guys. I appreciate you always making time for Yahoo Finance, of course. Thanks a lot.
See you, Brian.
I have something to say about the crypto winter. All that's next.
Oh, do you now?
Choose from over 8,000.
I would like to hear about this crypto winter you speak of. Let's see. Does Fox Now have anything worth? Nope, they're on commercial. CNBC is talking about not stocks.
0.8 lakh crores.
Okay.
So that's the drop in the GDP in 22-23. But subsequent growth rates are good. But yes, if you look at a particular year, there would be slight drop from the earlier numbers.
Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India and the U.S. joint statement highlights that there would be a rebalancing of the trade deal should the circumstances change. Speaking at the News 18 Rising Bharat Summit, Goyal said that India is closely monitoring the developments in the United States days after the Supreme Court
says it's
struck down
CNBC.
Trump's tariffs.
What was this, Indian news?
The end of the market day. Get ahead of tomorrow's trading with The Close. Weekdays on Bloomberg. Context changes everything. Welcome to the world of decentralized finance.
Why is it that NFTs have not recovered in the same way that, say, Bitcoin has?
Bloomberg is covering all things crypto.
It's a pretty spectacular story.
The people.
This is the future. This is the 21st century economy.
The transactions.
It snapped up nearly $1 billion of Bitcoin.
And the technology.
We need to build a digital Fort Knox.
That gives people financial freedom, and that's a wonderful thing.
That's extraordinary.
We ride the wave that is Bitcoin.
Bloomberg Crypto, only on Bloomberg.
Let's see what our biggest losers of the day are. 1,000,000%. Congratulations if you own any Future.
Let's get you some top calls. The analyst action, the sell side that we are following this morning. First up, TD Cowen. They upgrade Southwest Airlines, saying that airline demand looks stronger this year. The firm also says changes to Southwest loyalty program will help to boost earnings, but the real test is whether customers will keep their credit cards over time. Shares down 1.7%. Next up, Cars.com. That gets downgraded at JP Morgan. The firm says that it's hard to see when the company will start growing faster. The analyst says that competition is heating up, especially from AI tools and bigger companies offering more complete services to car dealers. Those shares down 6%. And finally, Morgan Stanley cutting Duolingo, my beloved owl, saying it was wrong to expect that the company could grow users and make more money at the same time. The language learning software company reported an outlook below expectations. Evercore ISI, JP Morgan, Citi downgrading the stock, shares down 20.5%. And unrelated, I currently have a 50-day streak on Duolingo. Matt.
Are you actually learning anything, though? What language are you trying to learn?
I'm doing Spanish. I have high school, only present tense.
Okay. I'm waiting on Bloomberg to get back to their crypto discussion.
Actually helping me or not.
All right. Maybe I'll give it a shot. My wife is from Spain, and, you know, we've been together for like 13 years.
I feel like it's embarrassing that you go to Duolingo to learn Spanish and not your own wife.
I mean, she thinks it's embarrassing that I don't speak Spanish.
I got it. Okay.
It's true. The Pentagon is open to more talks with Anthropic ahead of today's deadline to ease restrictions. Bloomberg spoke with Emil Michael, U.S. Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, about the negotiations.
I offered more talks. So long as they're in good faith, we're always open to talks, and we set a deadline, and we meant that.
Skydance's revised bid was the superior offer. Earlier this week, Paramount had revised its bid to buy Warner Brothers assets to $31 per share in an all-cash deal.
Netflix backed out.
Netflix had granted WBD a 7-day waiver to re-engage with Paramount, and this has now resulted in the higher bid.
Government use AI to do surveillance on its own people, on us. Of
course.
And
be naive.
Let the government use AI to, like, autonomously control weaponry. Surely the government doesn't want to do either one of those things, right? That would be insane.
I would agree with that. And look, I think with Anthropic, because they've been so focused on guardrails from the get-go, for the CEO, this is probably one of his big things that he has highlighted as a differentiator. And he doesn't want to completely, give up on that guardrails aspect, even though, the entity here that is looking to use that is the U.S. government, and their point is around national security. So from that perspective, I mean, again, I go back in time, what the other software companies have done. And, you always have to have the government on your side, and especially when it comes to national security. So it's going to be hard for someone like Anthropic to maintain their stand, at least as is they have right now.
I mean, have you seen Terminator? We've all seen Terminator, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole premise, that AI controls weaponry, and is it not? Am I?
No, it is. It is. But also, Mandeep, doesn't Anthropic, okay, two thoughts on this. One, doesn't this sort of cement how great of a foundational model Anthropic is if the Pentagon has to keep being like, okay, we're open to talks, we'll work with you. It seems like they need Anthropic. And number two, given the doomsday scenario Matt is laying out, don't you think this would be bad for their image if they caved to the Pentagon?
Not really. I mean, you have to think in terms of geopolitical context and, the competition that I guess we have with China. And then again, the national security aspect of it is huge. So, Anthropic is in a dominant position. Like you said, they are among the 3 leading foundational model players right now. And the government...
Okay. I got a message from my cousin regarding silver. Obviously is testing that 92 resistance, and as soon as it breaks through that, which you can probably count on it doing, the next stop will probably be $100. That's going to be a psychological resistance, but it's been above it before. It'll go above it again. In fact, if you look at the Fibonacci's for silver, it tells one beautiful story. Bottom line is, silver's a buy, in my opinion. Not financial advice, right? I think I have to say that. Let's see what CNBC
says. It maintains that it operates within existing...
Yeah, apparently this is not CNBC, I'm sorry, but apparently this is just some Indian network.
CEO Dario Amodei says that he supports using artificial intelligence to defend democracies, but argues that frontier systems are not yet reliable enough for fully autonomous weapons. He has also raised concerns about AI systems aggregating large amounts of personal data. What makes this moment notable is the tension at the center of it.
I must remind people, if you don't already know, it is very important to pay attention to what the rest of the world is saying, because we get so much propaganda in our news in America. Everybody should know that. And I'm not just speaking, of course, about the liberal media. Yes, there's a lot to be said about the liberal media. The media is, by and large, very liberal, but it's not because they're liberal. We live in America. There's propaganda on all networks. This is what makes YouTube such a wonderful place. Places like YouTube and Rumble, of course. You've got to take in multiple sources of information. You cannot just go with one network. If you do, you're going to have a warped sense of understanding of what's going on in the world. You've got to pay attention to what other places are saying, other countries as well. I took a trip to Thailand in 2008, and I spent a lot of time watching their news. Actually, I spent a whole day watching their TV, and their news was wild. It was wild. It really put things into perspective. See what Bloomberg
across Europe. I'm Guy Johnson.
I'm Anna Edwards.
And I'm Tom McKenzie.
I don't care who you are. Give me some info. Spend all day giving me your friggin' names. Let's see what Yahoo's saying.
Or waiting several days. I know that because of the snowstorm in New York, I was just told my Amazon packages would take 4 days to arrive, and the house just fell into bedlam. I mean, it was a catastrophe beyond.
Need our packages.
So I think it's fair.
I need some settlement finality.
I'm not a social psychologist, but I think it's fair to say that we as a society, as a species overall, tend to, once we have the chance to have things done much, much faster, securely, safely, with finality,
Coinbase.
we will choose to do it that way. So settlement finality. You're also going to hear about 24/5 trading. Part of our partnership is allowing average retail consumers to access the research they need to make trading decisions around stocks and be able to trade them 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, that sounds crazy, but the reality is large asset managers have had that luxury for years. We used to call it passing the book. Your desk would close in New York at 5.
Get a lot of good terms from you today.
Isn't that great?
It's good to see you,
So
man.
passing the book literally just means your desk would close in New York at 5. You shift your portfolio over to your London trader. When he or she finishes their trading day, they shift it to the Asia trader, and it goes around the world. The book just gets passed. So they've been able to 24/5 trading for a very long time. Now, because of Yahoo Finance and Coinbase, everyone can.
Well, then, is this the new? Let me push the Clarity Act aside for a second. I'm going to pretend for a second this doesn't even exist.
I'm not smart enough to understand policy.
Yeah, I'm going to move it aside.
Yeah.
Are these the catalysts
Why would you
that will
admit
get
to
us
something
out of the crypto winter?
like that?
You use the word catalyst, and that's I think that's fantastic. So I heard you before with your amazing prior guest.
Dollars making a little bit of a recovery?
Means a catalyst. I think that's
So
fair.
that's
Bitcoin
why
does
this is
need
slowing down a little bit?
Catalyst. The price action of the major tokens requires some catalyst. I work for an exchange. It's not my job to give price direction or trade direction. So I don't know.
It's also
when that
illegal.
catalyst will
I've never asked you for a price prediction, and I never will. I'm just not doing it because I think it's stupid.
Because if I knew short-term prices, quite frankly, but I love you, man.
I just assume you're going looking for Bitcoin 10 million.
All right, they're telling each other they love each other.
Short-term prices. Nobody can. But I will say the catalysts tend to come. And if you don't believe they're going to come, look at the 10-year trading history of Bitcoin and ask yourself, how likely is it that that's not going to be repeated at some point?
Yeah, really.
Lastly, without going down the rabbit hole of like the Clarity Act, I was talking to Patrick Witt. He's running Point.
Sure.
He was running Point.
He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, he's done a lot of amazing work there on the policy front. What would a Clarity Act mean to the crypto industry? We get this passed. I mean, is it this big?
Yeah, do tell.
Without question. So again, Clarity Act, genius was incredible. Clarity is market structure. So when you think market structure, you think things like the Commodity Futures Modernization Act. These are landmark instruments that create law across the entirety of the market. They govern the markets themselves. They govern who can come in, how they come in, how the banks, all the different members of the ecosystem, how they all behave. It is tougher to do than what the Genius Act did, despite however amazing the Genius Act was and is. So that is massive. And we want it to be good. We want consumers to have the benefit of this technology.
Want it to be good.
I think we're going to get there. This is a negotiation process.
Like
that's
money.
how it always works. That's why much smarter people than me in policy at Coinbase are handling all the negotiation. But we will get there. I'm very, very confident we're going to get there. I think the poly market Calshi odds are over 60%, or they were at least.
I do not like poly market.
Having that structure, even if it's not the perfect bill.
I busted them.
Some things have to be
being
even
full
if
of
it's
it.
not the perfect bill.
I can't remember what it was.
The industry can start to work.
But it turned me off from poly market.
And even without that clarity, we're seeing massive institutional adoption quietly on the back end. Once that market structure is in place, look back to what happened in the commodities world after the Commodity Futures Modernization Act. That's what's going to happen to the digital asset world.
John, good to see you. Excited for our partnership. Don't be a stranger. I'll see you back here, in a couple weeks?
I will always come have a fake cup of coffee with you.
No, I appreciate it. I personally poured seltzer in that cup. John, good to see you, man. I appreciate it. All right, before you go, 2 programming notes. As they say in this business, I'll be back later on this afternoon with a chat with New York Giants QB Jameis Winston. He has caught the investing bug.
Have you guys heard about what happened? The Department of Defense mistakenly shot down a Customs and Border Protection drone. They thought it was a cartel drone, of course. An anti-drone laser was deployed by Border Control without FAA coordination. The agencies are saying different things. That basically they're not cooperating with each other. That's probably what happened. What do you think about the president of Mexico? I've been wanting to ask this on stream. What do you think about this woman? I think she's in the cartel's pockets. The way that she framed something she said the other day about she was sympathizing with the cartels, for Christ's sake. So is she in the pockets of the cartels? That's my response.
Be rooted at the core of a portfolio.
All right, let's see. Bloomberg has got that music that wants to charge me a nickel running. Fox News, or Fox Now, is in commercial.
Several live looks out of Chappaqua, New York, as we are expecting former President Bill Clinton to testify at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so we're just about an hour out here. Here's one of those live looks that is just coming into our newsroom. And I wanted to also share with you this other shot. We were bringing you a bit beforehand. This camera keeps moving around, but there was a podium just set up there moments ago as we are still awaiting to hear from lawmakers. Before the break, we did share some comments here with you from House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer.
He's not going to testify until 11. What are you waiting
yesterday,
for?
Speaking after Hillary Clinton's deposition. I do want to share with you now some comments made by Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, as well as other Senate Democrats as they were speaking yesterday on this as well.
Yeah, I don't give a damn what Chuck Schumer has to say. I don't know about you. I don't know if y'all watched what Hillary said. She tries to claim that she never met the people. Yeah, that's why Jelaine, or whatever the hell her name is, was at your daughter's wedding, huh? If anybody believes anything Hillary Clinton has to say after Benghazi, you've got a hole in your head. And that's not being partisan at all. I try and stay as fair and neutral as possible, especially for the sake of these live streams, because everybody's welcome here. But I have a hard time accepting anything Hillary ever says again. Never met the man. Sure. I believe Jeffrey Epstein said that she was even better looking in person. That was a direct quote from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, who believes anything this man would have to say, right? And rightfully so. But who are you going to believe? You know, you really believe anything Hillary has to say? And what about your husband in the blue dress, honey? What about that? You never met the guy that your husband hung out with in a dress? Please. Now, Hillary Clinton is an excellent wordsmith. I'll give her that. She's been in politics most of her life. And while she was dodging the subpoena, she had plenty of time to craft a beautiful and very well-worded speech, didn't she? So I would expect her words to sound good to the media. But again, I can't accept anything Hillary has to say. I just can't. And that's not because, of any political reasons. Benghazi did it for me. That was it. Benghazi did it for me. Not to mention the whole emails and all that. But yeah, Hillary. I don't care what she has to say. Nothing she could possibly say will ever come across to me as truth. They were at your daughter's wedding. She was a +1, and then she hauled ass away from that interview, or from that podium, you notice. The next question, if you listen carefully, some reporter said something about Bill Clinton and being in a dress. God, I would have loved to have been there.
Ties to a convicted sex offender. CBS's Katrina Kaufman.
He does appear in the Epstein files. There was an image of him in a hot tub with an unidentified woman. You see him swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Mr. Clinton will become the first former president in more than 50 years to testify before Congress. His wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was deposed for 6 hours yesterday.
Yeah,
with the largest aircraft carrier in the world, the USS Gerald R. Ford, that to arrive off the coast.
Cannot wait for the transcript. I could care less about Hillary's because I know it's probably going to be full of shit. But old Bill, old Bubba, I can't wait to hear what he has to say about everything. He says he's got some bombs to drop about Trump. Now, I have a question to pose to all of you out there, okay? And it doesn't matter who you voted for, who you support. Let's put that aside and just think logically about this, okay? ABC, as well as NBC, confirmed that Trump blew the whistle on Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? What, in 2006, I think it was? I could be wrong about that. Somebody correct me if I am wrong. But let's think about this, okay? It's very well known and has been stated plenty of times by multiple sources that Jeffrey Epstein was gathering blackmail on everybody, all the people that were showing up to his little island or on his planes. He had plenty of damning evidence against plenty of prominent figures. He was gathering plenty of blackmailable evidence against these people. Now, before he was, before Trump dropped the dime on him, he had been doing this. Now, is it any wonder the person who essentially turned Epstein in worked with the FBI, Trump, worked with the FBI because he didn't agree with what he saw and what he found out? Is it any surprise that now all of a sudden Trump's the most mentioned name in the Epstein files? Well, yeah, of course. This guy was a blackmail king. And the guy that turned him in, he's not going to have the most to say about? Come on. So just because the guy's mentioned as many times as he is in the Epstein files doesn't make him guilty. However, I reserve judgment until some actual real evidence comes forth. Now, the only piece of evidence that I've seen was where someone claimed this and that about Trump and something that happened to her. But if you notice, they redacted the girl's name. And they just used the word victim. Well, it turns out that the name they redacted was Virginia Guthrie, the person who exonerated Trump. That's why they redacted her name, so they could use that. Isn't she no longer alive? I can't keep up with all this. So of course they're going to use, if she is no longer alive, of course they're going to use her statement because she can't contradict it. She can't come back and say anything about it. I just feel like if there was something that damning against Trump, they would have brought this up his last term, you know? Anytime anybody comes around and shakes up the status quo and threatens the powers that be or threatens the status quo, all of a sudden some sort of sexual abuse allegations show up or something like that. Just look at Russell Brand. These people are targets because they have done things that those in power do not like. So I just ask that everybody could take these things into consideration before you make judgment. You know, reserve your judgment until all the evidence comes out, which we'll never get. But just have a sense of leave your bias out of it. You know, there's too many people, liberals namely, that want Trump to be guilty. So as soon as anything pops up that even leans in that direction, they throw all their cards in on it. I've seen it firsthand. I have a couple of family members that are bleeding heart liberals, and you know, they're the same ones who actually believed that Trump coming into office meant that we were in for a Handmaid's Tale type reality, you know. And I have a family member. I have a family member who is gay, and she is married to another woman. They have an adopted kid. I love them to death. And I have no problem with them being married or having kids and their life choices. I don't give a damn. But this other family member of mine was convinced, she said the words to me, that when Trump was elected, she believed that my gay family member would have their doors kicked in and have their child taken from them. And I quote, so that they could teach that child how to blow old white men. These are the things that some of these people actually believe. And it's been a year since she said these ridiculous things. Nothing of the sort has happened. Can you get her to admit the truth? Absolutely not. But as soon as some, you know, arbitrary thing comes up about Trump, latch on to that. Selective outrage, bias. You've got to shed all of this if you ever hope to understand anything true that comes out of our media here in America. Because it is rare that we get the full story. And do you believe that we're ever going to get to the bottom of this Epstein stuff? I don't. I don't think we're ever going to find out the God's honest truth. Ever. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. I do believe, however, that they're working very hard to smear Trump in every which way, and I do believe Clinton's going to drop a few bombs. Bill Clinton's going to drop a few bombs today. I question their ability to substantiate some of the claims he's going to make, though. So we'll see. I'd like to cover it. I might cover it later, so stay tuned. I'm going to refill my coffee and going to have a smoke break. Comment below what you think about all the stuff that I said. I know I said a lot. But, and somebody give me some stock picks. Nobody likes to comment in my live streams so far. I am just getting started, and I love every one of you. I appreciate your patronage. I'm going to leave the heat map up unless anybody has any thing they'd like to say. Let's take a look at silver first. I see it running up. Oh, yeah. Okay. And you see the RSI popped above 60. It's taming down a little bit, but it very well could queue back up. But it looks like it's hitting some resistance right here. It may or may not pop through that. Gold is popping up. If gold continues to go up, it'll pull silver along with it, kind of like Bitcoin pulls Ethereum and all the other coins along with it. Bitcoin is reacting as well. Nvidia looks like it's on a downward spiral here. That's largely probably because all the people pulling out of their AI investments. Coinbase doing pretty good for the day, I think. These are hour charts. Why don't we get to the 1 minute? Maybe I'll be able to have a better understanding, right? Yeah, I take that back. Coinbase recovering a little bit, but it started off the day pretty meh. Coinbase took a drop. A couple of percent, nothing major. Dollar did recover a little bit. Now it's come back down a little bit. It might be on a little bit of an upward trend, but this is what the dollar does. You don't need a 1 minute chart on the dollar index, that's for sure. And you give it the hour. Yeah, that looks like it's going to wiggle around in here a bit. Disregard these trading signals on things like the US dollar index, for Christ's sake. Crypto heat map looking flat as hell. Flat and green. Red on the 4 hour. Stock heat map, man, everything, all the major players are looking kind of red. This is largely because of AI. The AI bubble may be beginning to pop as people pull out their investment or slow down their investments in OpenAI and ChatGPT. Nvidia feeling that pain because of that, even though they beat the living hell out of earnings. Gold's still on a tear. Silver looks like it's doing well. Coinbase still down. Bitcoin. I did say I'm going to go have a smoke and get me a refill on coffee. I'm going to leave Bloomberg running. Comment below.
Acquire Warner Brothers. The company last night said they are declining to raise their $82.7 billion offer for Warner Brothers Studios and streaming business. And investors seem to be happy that they're finally walking away from this deal, which they feared would saddle the company with debt and financial risks. It also marks an end to the contentious fight both in Hollywood and in Washington. And Netflix shares have declined 15% since their offer in December through yesterday's closed. That is poised to strengthen now that the shares are finally rallying.
Stock up 8%, a smart move to walk away, I think, at least just in my opinion. And we'll talk to an expert in just a second. Touchdown, thank you so much for joining us. Touchdown Derriere, strategist for Markets Live. For more conversations like this, subscribe to our Stock Movers Report. Listen for 5-minute audio reports on the biggest winners and losers in the stock market. Subscribe to Stock Movers on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen. Let's dig into deeper this little deal there in the media space. Warner Brothers Discovery, again, the news being Netflix walking away. So now Paramount Skydance, it's their deal. Good for them. And let's check in with Geetha Ranganathan. She covers all the media stocks for Bloomberg Intelligence. Geetha, we got Netflix stock trading higher. I guess the shareholders like them kind of passing on this deal.
Yeah, big relief rally, Paul. You know, I mean, this was always kind of muddying the narrative. I mean, we've spoken about this multiple times. Netflix is such a clean, organic growth story, and them just pursuing Warner Brothers Discovery, I mean, just kind of added so much of uncertainty. You know, you have the regulatory risks, of course, integration, execution risks. Plus, we were talking about something like, you know, their debt levels going up to beyond $100 billion. And yes, they do have the financial firepower, but at the end of the day, they have always been builders versus buyers. And once again, they showed, you know, that they deserve, you know, they've always gained this reputation of being very, very disciplined spenders when it comes to M&A. And I think they once again exercised that discipline, and investors are cheering.
So it seems that this is a smart move, according to analysts, including you. Does this signal that the company is confident in its organic growth versus M&A, especially in a very crowded streaming market?
Yeah, Isabel, I mean, that had, you know, been the question. I think that's what spooked investors so much when they actually went ahead with this $83 billion deal for Warner, about whether they were actually seeing a slowdown internally, and them not just abandoning the deal, but also going ahead and resuming buybacks. Once again, just kind of signals confidence in their underlying growth model. So I think, you know, we know very well that their operating metrics are really strong. I mean, this is a company that has guided to double-digit revenue growth. We're going to see about 12 to 14% revenue gains this year. We're looking at operating margin expansion of almost you know, 1,000 basis points. It's gone up 10% over the past 2 years. So, and of course, we also have fabulous, you know, free cash flow generation. So all of their, you know, financial levers and all of their growth drivers very much in place. And, you know, not having this distraction anymore just helps them kind of really double down on their organic growth story.
On the other side of the equation, Geetha, be careful what you wish for. So Paramount, they've got this great asset in Warner Brothers Discovery. What's the street think about this management team at Paramount? It's pretty much unknown, untested. This Mr. Ellison from the media community. Is there any report card to date? Does the market think that this is a management team that can make this acquisition work?
They probably can, Paul. I mean, they do have, you know, they do have some financial firepower here, although I would point out that leverage at this company is going to be extraordinarily high. We're looking at pro forma leverage of around almost 7 times. Those are, you know, dangerously high levels. Yeah, and it's something that they're going to have to contend with. But at the same time, you know, they've spoken to synergies. We're looking at about $6 billion in synergies that they've committed to. And remember, this is a team with a fairly tech-heavy bent. So that might be something that kind of really serves them well as they poise themselves for this new streaming future. You know, you do have now, they kind of are turbocharging their content offering, they're turbocharging their streaming business, and they have all of the, you know, pieces in place to make this a really good business. We'll have to wait and see how they execute. But you're right. I mean, the management team is a little bit of an unknown, although, you know, we do have Jeff Shell, who has experience from NBC. But again, it's going to be a little bit of a wait and watch.
And Netflix also said they plan to invest $20 billion this year in films and shows. Is that enough to keep them ahead, again, in this really competitive streaming wars?
Yeah, the $20 billion that they committed was actually a pretty significant step up, Isabel, from prior years. I mean, we've seen them increasing content costs by roughly about 6 to 7%. This year was going to be a much more significant jump to about 10%. And this is just basically Netflix saying that they are willing to diversify into different forms of content. I mean, the big investments that they're making are in live, in sports, in international content, just to kind of keep up that engagement metric and make sure that, you know, they keep building on that competitive moat that they already have. And now, you know, the icing on the cake for them with this Warner deal is that they're getting $2.8 billion in termination fees. So, hey, much more K-dramas, I guess.
Exactly. Geetha, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Geetha Ranganathan, media analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. But when you talk synergies in Hollywood, I'd be very nervous. This means jobs. If I'm a lighting director sitting on the Warner Brothers lot, I look across the street at the Paramount lot, there's somebody doing my exact same job there.
That is true, but at least that's something AI still can take. I mean, with news earlier this morning, Jack Dorsey's blog cutting its staff, that was scary. And I always fear about, this is why I keep baking, because no one could still bake. And I was just telling John that I'm also into flower arrangements.
Oh, okay. So
I mean, I like baking too, to eat it. So far, I have not seen any of the products of Isabel's.
Yes, that's
hobby.
a good point, John. I mean, that's a good point. We'll still have to see if we can work on that a little bit here. The sell-off continues here. We got the Dow off 690 points, 1.4%. That's leading the way on a percentage basis. The S&P is off 50 points, 0.75% decline. The NASDAQ is down 205 points, so about 0.9%. So lower, but off of the intraday lows. And we'll also call out the 10-year Treasury. We're now below 4%. It's been a long time since we've been below 4%, 3.97% on that. Gold higher, $4,230 per ounce. This is Bloomberg. Good morning.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com. Bloomberg Television.
Okay.
And
Bloomberg, what are you doing? What's Yahoo saying? Nothing.
And sitting on his lap, this is all just unacceptable, particularly with all of the just gruesome allegations.
Okay. Bloomberg is back to speaking instead of music.
Credit concerns are raging on. There's another cockroach with London's MFS. And you have shares of, let's pick on Apollo Global Management right now. They are down close to 7%, ticker symbol APO, Apollo Management. Netflix, they won by losing. You're geeked to talk about it. Shares of the streaming giant right now, they are up over 8% after dropping the bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. So it's considered a relief for investors. They were worried Netflix would overpay. And don't forget, they're still going to get a $2.8 billion breakup fee. Best performing stock in the S&P 500 right now, Dell Technologies. They are up, almost 18%. The company delivering an outlook for sales of its artificial intelligence servers that exceeded estimates. S&P 500 down 50 points, 68.58 on the index. The Dow down 680 points. The NASDAQ 119 points lower. The rise of
Netflix. He said they won by losing. Oh, yeah. Look at Netflix. Yeah. I'll say Netflix is doing right. Let's check out Dell. What did he say, Dell? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Damn, Dell. See that RSI right there? It's way up off the charts, which signals that it's going to come down soon, which it did. But not very much. RSI is holding steady at the up pace, right around 60 RSI is when things are heading in an upward direction, more or less. Nvidia still down. Silver is making some good waves. I'm liking what I'm seeing with silver. Fibonacci's are screaming something beautiful. And I'll go ahead and tell you what I believe is going to happen with silver. And I'm basing this on Fibonacci's. Fibonacci's never lie. Silver will run up to about $130, $140 before it comes crashing down again. So I would say right now silver is a solid buy. But once it gets up to about 130-ish, once it gets up into that range, you're going to want to back up out of there. And when it's done crashing, Fibonacci say it'll run up over 200. Now, when will that happen? Well, that's the big question. It could happen next week. It could take a year. We know silver takes a while to move sometimes, but with the current market conditions, I am leaning towards, it happening this year. But silver is definitely a buy. Not financial advice. Gold making some good moves today, baby. Coinbase, Bitcoin. It didn't like that 68,000. Looks like it's going to slowly consolidate around a little bit right here. But yeah, all of this has to do with what the dollar's doing. And the last couple hours, the dollar's not been looking too fancy. In fact, I'd say since about 1 o'clock yesterday. All right. Well, today, Bill Clinton, Bubba, is going to be deposed, give his deposition. I am curious to see what he has to say. And as I stated before, I expect there to be all kinds of shocking allegations made against Trump, probably largely coordinated with Epstein, because as we know, he was the blackmail king. And wouldn't you know it, the person who turned him in, and that has been confirmed by ABC and NBC, liberal media sources, they have confirmed that he did in fact work with the FBI, Trump, to turn him in, blew the whistle on Epstein. Does it shock anybody really that now Trump has been mentioned the most in the Epstein files? Of course he is. He blew the whistle. Hello? Why is nobody putting this together? It angers me. But yet Hillary never met the man. Yeah, that's why old Ghislaine or whatever her name is, that's why she was at your daughter's wedding, huh, you lying bitch. Sorry. My faith in Hillary Clinton since Benghazi. You can forget me believing a word that woman ever has to say. I'm largely interested to hear what Bill Clinton has to say, just for the theater of it all and the entertainment value. I think it's going to be quite interesting. Let's see what they're saying over there on Fox Now.
Remarks, maybe take a couple questions. That'll be followed by Robert Garcia and other members of the Democrat Party. We actually have these other live images that we're keeping an eye on as well, as these are nearby the location. You can see there are police. There's a heavy law enforcement presence all around this area due to the intense, I would say, attendance from several different big figures, high-profile names, and lawmakers who are there for this deposition. We are going to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting theater, that's for sure. What is
an apocalyptic scenario that you talked about, the Citrini research, was really, sort of a thought exercise or a way to figure out, like, how could this maybe play out? But I think that the real question that has been sort of crystallizing in recent months is the question of speed, right? The question of speed of adoption. Like, I don't think there's a lot of debate that these AI tools could one day be transformational. It's a question of how quickly companies take them on and how quickly they replace workers. And I think what's different about this Dorsey announcement is this is an acknowledgement that either the tools are good enough now or he's confident enough that they'll be good enough in the very immediate future that he can make this kind of a move. And if that is the, if it is going to be faster rather than take more time for companies to adopt it, that's when we maybe run into a problem, right? Both a problem of, a lot of people being unemployed and not having anywhere to go, because if everybody's doing this, what are these people going to do? And so that, I guess, creates a bigger societal question.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You're totally right on the speed, right? Like this feels as though it just kind of is a big, like blast through the wall, saying, we're just doing this. We believe that AI is going to be able to help us do what other employees, what our employees could have done in less time. They're not the only company, by the way. Salesforce has done this. We've seen other companies do this in the past. Some have had to rehire because they went too fast and overboard, believing that AI could do everything. And look, it's so hard to gauge what's going on as far as the usefulness of AI, I think, just because we get so many different mixed signals, right? We were talking about yesterday how there was a report that some companies are saying to their employees, use AI. For the love of God, we paid for it. Just use it in some way. And there are others where you hear these reports about like Block, where they're saying, look, AI is so great, we don't need people right now. And so there's got to be something that gives us a better view of what is going on in the enterprise landscape when it comes to AI than just those two scenarios, right? And I think that we've been hard pressed to get that quite yet. And that's why I think there's so much of this confusion as to what is going to happen. It's, A, nobody has a crystal ball. If we did, we'd all probably be rich. And B, we're just getting so many mixed signals that there's nothing clear for us right now.
Dan, since we're not going to solve this right now, you and I, there is something else I want to talk to you about, and that's the ongoing discussions between the Pentagon and Anthropic. Anthropic coming out in a note yesterday and saying basically that the Pentagon has not addressed its concerns, and the two, the line that Anthropic has drawn is over surveillance of domestic citizens of the U.S. and in non-human involved decision-making in warfare. And the Pentagon says, like, we're not doing this stuff. But I think what the concern is on the part of Anthropic is that the contract they have doesn't preclude them from doing so at some point. So they're still talking, it sounds like. It's not done. And then out of nowhere, also, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's coming in saying, we're trying to figure out a solution between the two. Because, Sam Altman and Dario Amodei are such buddies they wouldn't even hold hands at the India AI summit during the group picture. But, Altman's coming in to save the day.
Sorry, guys. I've got some issues going on, some financial issues I need to take care of somehow. Money's been very tight. I am a broke bitch. I am technically homeless. until this YouTube thing takes off a little bit more than it has. And I have been doing okay. I got monetized January 5th or 6th. But, you know, I'm still below my payout threshold that YouTube has. I think I've made like $60 on YouTube, but they've got a $100 price point, so I can't even touch that. But yeah, and Rumble, I'm below their threshold as well. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. I'm going to have to cut it short and say sayonara. I want to say I will be back to cover Bill Clinton when he gets done with his deposition, which it starts at 11. That's going to be several hours. It'll probably take all day. So, yeah, by all means, check in with me. I definitely am going to do my best to stream coverage of what he has to say, and then we can comment on it. So, yeah, I'm super grateful for you guys being here. I will be back for a market open on Monday. And until then, be good to each other. Try and leave your biases out of your assessment of what's going to be in the news over the next few days. And, yeah, that's it. I love you.